thank you all for joining us today. We have a very special guest, Jason Mundok, of multiple talents, I don't even want to put you into a box.
Thank you.
Yeah, but welcome.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today.
I would say the top 2 boxes would be the Candy Factory. Yeah. The Candy Factory co-working space. I'm a partner in the Candy Factory. Partner with Ann Kirby, who's the founded the Candy Factory 15 years ago. Hard to believe, 15th year.
Amazing.
Biggest co-working space in the area. First one really in central Pennsylvania, so still around, still doing a lot of great stuff. Where we met, which I'm sure we'll talk about. Mm-hmm. And then also the host of the podcast, So Good Lancaster. Mm-hmm. That is one of the flagship shows of our company called So Good Media, where we produce media and software and marketing materials.
I think I'll tell the audience, if you go to the Candy Factory, you will see Jason, you will see Ann, and they are the reason why we ended up there, because you welcomed us in at a time when we didn't know where we should go. We knew we needed an office, but the two of you are the magic and the heart behind the place.
Well, I appreciate that.
So
Thank you.
If you go there, which all of you should, you will be welcomed by Jason and Ann, and they'll make you feel the way that we felt when we first went there, which is like, man, this is a community within our community.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful thing.
And, it's been many years, and we've grown a really amazing team. We employ 10 people, and everybody's really focused on building community, creating a space where people from any background can come together and be respectful and enjoy each other's company and learn from each other and share knowledge and really grow. So, it's all about the community.
There's multiple buildings now, too, here in Lancaster, so the actual physical footprint has gotten bigger, too.
Yeah, absolutely. We started out in the Keppel building. If anyone from town is familiar with the Keppel building, it's where Chalice is now on the 300 block of Queen Street, where Cavilar had been. There's several retail stores there and then apartments above. So the Keppel building was a candy factory in the early part of the 20th century. And when Ann founded the co-working space, the candy factory the Keppel building was primarily being used for artist studios, music studios. Different people were renting different parts of the building, and it was in pretty bad shape back then. Mm-hmm. There was an art gallery that had opened on the first floor. They'd renovated a space on the first floor of the building, and when Ann had the idea to bring co-working to the Lancaster area, that art gallery had just been closed. Like, they were moving out. She knew that person who was in charge of that and made that connection and said, hey, this space is going to be available, and I know you're looking for a space. So the stars aligned, and the Candy Factory was born in the old Candy Factory. At the time, I don't think she thought that Candy Factory would ever leave there. About 4 years later, we moved across the street to the other side of Queen Street, next to Building Character, one of those warehouses. And you're right, yeah, we have the warehouse and the 6th-floor tower next to it. And then across the parking lot in 2019, we took a space. It's directly across from those warehouses, and it even expanded into another space. Behind that, there's another building that's adjacent to that. So it's about 25,000 square feet on that part of the campus.
Substantial. And
then we recently, really recently, in the last few months, launched a space on North Prince Street next to the stadium. Mm-hmm. And that is called TCF Hub 812. So it's a building literally just north of the stadium. I can see right field home runs coming over the wall every once in a while. And that is another 10,000 square feet, mostly private offices up there. But if you're a member of the Candy Factory, if you're a member of the co-working space, you can utilize resources in both buildings. Yeah. And we've expanded to where we have a full gym on one of the floors in the tower. We have childcare. We have 2 media studios, a smaller podcast room, and then a larger media studio for video. So, yeah, there's quite a bit going on. About 340 members today, and we get about 120 people checking in a day.
Right.
It's interesting to me. I have been to a WeWork, and that was what I and maybe most of us know. Co-working, you think of what you hear about in the news. You hear about WeWork and their issues. But can you just walk through, for the folks who haven't been to TCF yet, how it is different from that traditional WeWork space. If you've been to one of those, what's different some of what you just mentioned is part of that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, number one, the focus is on community.
Yeah.
The focus is on the people. So we always joke that the building could go away and there would still be a Candy Factory community. We would just meet virtually until we could find another space, kind of a thing. Yeah. We refer to it as community impact co-working versus, more real estate development co-working. So there's kind of two schools of thought. And the philosophy that Ann was really interested in back in the aughts, so 2007, 8, 9, came out of California, came out of the open source movement in the Silicon Valley in San Francisco. So at that time, there was a race to build apps and websites and web applications and things like that. And open source software was a growing trend. And you would have all these developers who had different skill sets, and someone would spin up a startup and they would need talent. And somebody, I don't know who it was, came up with the idea, well, why don't we all share a big warehouse space, and then everybody can just kind of work out of there, and then you sort of just holler out what you need.
And someone comes
and
to help.
someone says, hey, I can do that skill. And you start building these collaborative teams. And Ann became very interested in that because she, as a creative professional at the time running a marketing agency, she's a graphic designer, web designer. She was kind of in a similar situation and had founded a local meetup called Creative House of Lancaster for creative professionals. So she was leading a group that was meeting every month that were designers, photographers, software developers, musicians, et cetera, et cetera. They were meeting around town and getting to know each other, networking.
Just like at coffee shops or...
Right. There would be the second floor of Annie Bailey's was one of the early meeting places. We actually, I think the first one I went to was at Building Character, and they were brand new, 2008. We would do these things like these pechacuchas where they rapid fire presentations and real creative stuff. They would do art and found spaces, so they would spin up installations around town and just work together collaboratively for the love of it. Yeah. And so Creative House of Lancaster, from that, Ann identified that several of these folks were working in these found spaces, working in coffee shops, or maybe had an office, but you're sitting there by yourself all day. So she said, "What if we open a co-working space? Would you guys join?" And 15 people out of the gate signed up. So she opened the door with 15. It was sustainable, really. She opened the door with 15 members in that Keppel building, and then over time it grew. But the focus was always about how do we come together, share knowledge, how do we create an environment where people can work together and be creative together and collaborate on projects together. So that was the idea. And that's what you don't really get with, again, the more real estate development type of co-working. So especially since the pandemic, a lot of office space has gone empty.
Right.
And so if I'm the owner of a building and I'm having trouble getting a company to take over, maybe 5,000 square feet of office space, well, I can just hang a shingle, call it co-working, and people can come and work there. Yeah. The difference is that rarely do those outfits have the real community focused or community building aspect of what we bring at the Candy Factory. And so you go there and you sit and you work, and if you're lucky, you're sitting next to an extrovert who might introduce themselves and have a conversation. But for the most part, you're around other people, but not necessarily engaging with other people. Whereas at the Candy Factory, on average, we provide 40 events a month to touch base, and you can engage in that at whatever level you want. So if you're more comfortable just going heads down, we have folks who say, I have to work around people, but I need to be heads down, and I that's how I focus, the buzz. Yeah. Right? So they might not engage in a networking situation, but they like to be there around people. Yeah. We have other folks who love to engage and interact with others, so these touch points are important for them and their health. And but these 40, don't let me overstate it. It's not like 40 networking events. It's like one could be a walk and talk. So every Tuesday and Thursday, for example, at 2:30, anybody who wants to go for a walk, we gather at the front desk and go for a 15-minute walk, 20-minute walk. That's great. Just stretch your legs and say hi to somebody and chat. So that counts as 8 for the month. So it's those kinds of touch points from that level all the way up to formal or more formal events at our on our 6th floor clubhouse, where we're doing evening events, and you can bring a spouse or friends and that sort of thing, or concerts and comedy shows and these other more ticketed or more formalized events. So it's a great opportunity to just kind of, a lot of folks who join the Candy Factory are transplants. They come into town, they move here from Philly or DC or somewhere, maybe move back, grew up in the area, move back, and a lot of times we get the feedback that they just wanted to plug in somewhere. They wanted to find community. They wanted to find some people to learn where things are. And Candy Factory and, that kind of co-working space is perfect for that.
Yeah. And I mean, a friend of mine also uses it for when they're not in the office. Like they work from home 3 days a week and they're in the office 2 days a week. Those 3 days at home, they don't want to be in their living room or space working,
Right.
So they come to the Candy Factory.
There you go.
Yeah,
yeah. It's a perfect supplement for hybrid workers. We have folks whose office like day to day, like they're in there every day at 8, leave at 5, and anywhere in between that spectrum. So
it's good for us. It's good for us starting up because we had one small office space before, but it was really tiny and really isolated. And the Candy Factory was an antidote to that.
Yeah, it was great.
How long did you have the gym, or were you executing the program prior to saying, we need somewhere to, or expand enough to where you needed a place to do the administrative work and that sort of thing?
Did we go right in 2018?
Yes.
Darren and I were running Benchmark together at that point.
2018. Yep.
So Benchmark had been around for 4 years prior, but in a really limited capacity.
Okay.
So we were at the Y initially, 2014 to 2015. 2015 we were we were at the Y in 2014. We then got a space on West James Street in the James Street Arts Building. Number of offices there, right behind the fridge, really. We were down in that basement for the better part of a year. December 2015, we moved to 341 East Liberty Street, and that's where we started to grow. But we knew we could never work in there.
From the gym.
There was never any illusion that we would be productive in that space. And so we got another office space temporarily, got out of there pretty quickly.
We weren't there long. We were there long enough for me to paint the walls, I think, and that was about it.
Yeah. We left our mark. And then we got out of there and came to TCF. So Benchmark had been operational for a couple years, but really it wasn't until we started our relationship with the county and made the programs more robust that we realized we have to have an administrative home. And TCF was at that point it's just the building next to Building Character and the tower.
Yeah. We would have just opened all 6 floors. The original iteration was the first 2 floors of the tower and the warehouse. And then right around 2017, late 2017, we finished off 3 through 6. And that would have been when I met you guys. And it was just the 2 of you at the time, right?
Yeah.
Me and Darren.
Yeah. And I think every aspect of the Candy Factory was beneficial to us. Just daily working made it so much easier to have a filing cabinet there to store sensitive documents as opposed to trying to find a space to lock it up in our already small gym. And then you mentioned the 6th floor, having that space. We did at least one fundraising event, like a thank you event there. Wouldn't have been able to do that in the gym.
Yeah, it's a great amenity,
Yeah,
so nice
for members to be able to utilize that.
Cool elevator to get you up there.
Yeah,
or cool stairs too if you want to hike to get up there.
Yeah, great stairs.
My cardio probably improved at the Candy Factory because climbing. We were on the 3rd floor.
Yes,
I had a 5th floor desk, and we don't use for anybody listening, it's a freight elevator. We don't use it like you would use a regular passenger elevator, but we can transport people if a staff member is available. So the folks who work on the 4th and 5th floor take the steps.
You get that.
And I moved from the 5th floor to the 1st floor for a while. And my doctor literally said, "Hey, your numbers have changed." Like 6 months later, he looked at my blood work.
Oh,
I didn't get as much activity. I moved from the 5th floor. It was such a great way to get your steps up and down, buzzing up and down.
You know, when we were there, the value that having the space was wonderful, but just getting the practice of talking to people about what we were doing was powerful. And we weren't forced to talk to anybody. You don't feel that way when you're there, but you do have the opportunity to talk. Almost everyone, I can't think of anyone who didn't make eye contact and wave at you.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you choose to not wave back, that's on you, but it gave us a chance to practice. Who are you and what is Benchmark?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because those water cooler moments really create an opportunity to say, what do you do?
Yep, that's it.
And, you know, you've got your 30 to 60 second moment for an audience that there's no pressure.
Right.
Because if they aren't interested in what you do, or there's no reason to engage, then it's just a pleasantry and you can move on.
Yep.
But if there is an opportunity to engage, then you have these really interesting moments where it's a no pressure networking situation that can just happen organically throughout the day.
Yeah.
I've engaged with so many members in terms of business, engaging in their services over the years without really intending to. You meet somebody at a happy hour, you have a conversation. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I manage retirement accounts or something along those lines. And it's like, oh, you know, I was thinking about changing, or I was thinking about engaging with somebody to kind of get my stuff in order. Oh yeah, well let's chat more about it. Let's hook up next week, kind of thing. Those moments happen all the time.
Yeah. Our relationship is a prime example of that.
Well, that's a good point.
Our database, that because before we came to you, we weren't really doing anything in the way of hard data or numbers with students. And so we came to you. You were able to build out a database for us to be able to track student interactions and attendance and everything. And that has only grown, and we use it across multiple programs now as Benchmark has grown.
Right.
If you go to TCF and then you come to Benchmark and you sign on the iPad, you see the same sign-in stuff. Well, actually, we just tweaked it.
Yeah.
But I think that's the system with which we use to report outcomes. I mean, that's critical to the operation. Certainly has been critical for the growth, but it's critical to the operation today. Because now all of our program sites have an iPad where staff can log in those students that link into a system that you've refined that allows us to do all the metric tracking we need to do.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
It's really cool.
And based on what you saw and experienced at the Candy Factory, then we just took that system, copied it, and modified it. Which is, I mean, that's a real benefit of this type of gathering place, you know, and it's sometimes hard to explain to folks really what it's all about until you experience it. Like it's hard to comprehend it until you experience it. But we love it, you know. And coworking, especially that kind of coworking, has really evolved over the years, because prior to the pandemic, for 10 years, the folks who engaged at the Candy Factory were very intentional about needing a place. It was cases like yours where very, very small operation, really just need somewhere to do some of this work, right? Or remote workers, mostly in the tech fields or the creative fields, because those industries have always had remote work. I was a remote worker in 2004, working for a tech company, which is pretty amazing when you think about it.
You were working remote with like a Telegram
Yeah,
service?
yeah. No, I had a pony.
Okay.
And and pigeons. So the pigeon would be sort of like texting, and the pony was a little bit more like email. You know what I mean? Like if
That's
you,
awesome.
you could write a longer note, put it on the pony, send it. Yeah, it was good old days. But the folks who came and engaged with us at the Candy Factory, who became members and stayed for a couple of years or more, it was really intentional. Like they knew what they were getting into. Fast forward a couple of years to the pandemic, and all of a sudden, there are a whole lot of people who became remote workers without deciding to, without the intention of being. And so that has really changed the composition of membership, and it's really changed the needs. It's changed the desires of the folks who come in, like what they're looking for, what they really need. So it's been a really interesting journey. A lot of folks are like, "Oh, you're going to boom because of because all these people are remote," but not everybody wants to be remote, and so it's been an adjustment for some folks. Whereas before, people sort of knew what they were getting. So, yeah, it's been a very interesting ride since the pandemic of folks moving into the area, moving out of the area, all of a sudden having remote jobs, all of a sudden getting called back.
Yep.
That's a wave that we've seen recently. It's like this whole sort of segment of the population, all of a sudden I have to start going to the office now.
Yep. We see
And it's these are interesting times in which we live.
Yeah. So I understand, and I've heard about companies calling people back, like, I need to see you. If you're not here, I'm not sure you're working. But this co-working seems to be somewhere in the middle of, you can sit at your house on your couch and work, and you need to be back on your seat in the office. Co-working is somewhere in the middle, but it doesn't seem like it's part of the conversation for these big companies. Like there could be that middle ground space.
It could be, certainly, and many companies do pay for they pay a stipend for co-working if it's a remote worker, and that became very popular during the pandemic, as the companies would say, well, we're going to close the office. Maybe we have some lease on a 10-story office building, and we're going to close that. And then we'll offer everybody a stipend if you'd like to use it for co-working. And so that we took advantage of that over those years. And that's waning a little bit now, but there's less and less of that happening as companies are trying to figure out how to be productive. But I don't think remote work is ever going to go away. No. It was there before the pandemic. It'll certainly be there into the future. The numbers have changed, and I'm sure that they'll plateau, and we'll figure out kind of where they are. But So co-working and the co-working spaces and hybrid work and remote work is all just part of the fabric now. And I think as kids come up and graduate from schools and enter the workforce, that's not something that when I grew up was even an option. You just didn't even think about it again until the early part of the 2000s, and then and then it became a little bit more and more accepted as each year passed. But now, I mean, we love bringing classes in. We'll do field trips, mostly for our media studio. But then I'll always show the Candy Factory's, main hall and say,
sure.
how many of you kids, parents work from home or work remotely, and you'll get a few hands up, and I say, well, this is the kind of place they could go. And I'm not really doing a sales pitch.
Yeah, but
always be selling, right?
Sits in there,
always be closing. ABC.
Always be closing.
But here, kid, take this to your mom. But no, but I want these kids, especially high school kids, to see that the workplace, this is an option. This is something. This is a workplace that you could experience depending on the kind of work you do and the kind of industry you're in.
Yeah. And you could get an office too at the Candy Factory.
That's correct.
You can have a closed door office if you.
Yeah, so we actually have several levels of membership, and the most inexpensive is what we call social membership, and that just essentially gives you access to our events, and that's anytime. So we do events again. We do events throughout the day. We have meetups that happen throughout the day. We call them clubs, like in high school. Yep. I run the AV club, for example. We talk about microphones and cameras. We have a marketing club. We have whiskey tasting club and beer tasting club and things like that as well. So if you're a social member, you can come to any of those events, but you have to buy a day pass if you want to actually co-work, and that's pretty inexpensive. And then we kind of move up from there into the community memberships. Connect and Community are memberships that allow you to come and use the space like a cafe.
Yep.
So you don't have a physical desk, you don't have a door, but you can use the space throughout the day. You bring your laptop.
There's lots of spots, like
a lot of spots to hang
seats.
out, a lot of different vibes. One of the benefits of the Candy Factory is we offer monitor parking. So if you like to use a big monitor, you can store it there, so you can go grab it, kind of set up for the day. Unlike going into like a Starbucks, you can't really
take your monitor.
You can't really take your monitor and your headset.
I
mean, you can. And then our full-time memberships are a desk, a physical desk. That's what you guys had. And we had I had one of those for many years. That was just a full-time desk in an open space. Kind of remind me of an old newsroom you see on in the movies. Everybody's sort of open and desks around the perimeter of the space, and then we have offices as well. So, but all the memberships are just memberships. So there's no lease. Like even if you have an office, you're considered an office member.
Yeah. It's nice. It's not complex.
Not complex at all.
It's pretty easy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what are you working on? Like, what's your day look like when you're over there?
Oh.
You, Jason. Like, what does your day look like?
Wow. It is a very varied.
Okay, very
Like
varied.
I do a lot of different things. Being a partner at TCF, gives me some of those responsibilities. As far as TCF goes, I'm mostly a back office. So I'm the systems, the databases that we use, the accounting, kind of managing that stuff, working with the team on some initiatives. We try to work together as a team. We try to make sure that if there's brainstorming and things like that, we involve as many people as we can to kind of come up with the best ideas. So my TCF time is mostly that. And then I'm a partner also in the company So Good Media with Ann Kirby as well. And that day-to-day is software development, media production, and marketing strategy. So we offer those three services to small businesses. I'm largely responsible for software and media, and Ann is our marketing guru. Yeah, but I work on her projects and she works on my projects. And then we have a bunch of subcontractors and employees and different different folks who help out with those different projects. So I might be writing some software. I might be editing a podcast. I probably did both in the same day. Doing some accounting.
Yeah.
And then there's having a brick and mortar building.
Yep.
Physical space. I might be plunging a toilet. I might be.
It happens.
We have
Joy.
we have a friendly neighborhood squirrel who's been visiting us in our roof or like in the ceiling. So we've been trying to track that little critter down and figure out what's going on there.
He wants to be part of the community.
Wants to be. I signed up for a Connect membership and it's like I'm just here to day pass. So it's everything. In terms of just managing a building. And I'm primarily at the 812 North Prince Street building, which is near the stadium. So my day-to-day is just, it's quick. There's a lot going on. I'm running around. I'm on the phone a lot with clients. And then helping. And of course, I run the AV club.
Yeah.
So, our membership, what that basically does is, it's a weekly meetup, and I'm encouraging as many members as I can who want to start a podcast, who want to work on media production, to hang out with me and let's talk about the project and make sure that they're up to speed on the amenities we have.
It's an awesome resource. It's kind of free time with you, free advice.
Yeah, I love to share the knowledge that I have. I love to learn. So we have some really great video production folks in-house. We have other podcasters in-house, so we share knowledge. I love what I do, and I've been doing it for a long time, but I can always learn, and it's a great community for that.
If you need to zone in and do very focused work, how do you signal to people that you are not to be disturbed?
Well, fortunately, I have an office right now, so I can close my door.
So you can close the door and just zone
I can close
in.
my door. Yeah.
Is that when you're writing software? Is that when you need to be?
Software, I've been writing software for so long now, like 25 years, that it's sort of muscle memory.
Okay.
Unless I've got a real technical challenge that I'm working through. A lot of it is, it's actually one of the more casual things that I do.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? I can sort of just put the headphones on, leave the door open. If anybody needs anything, they can pop in, and I can just kind of get in and out of it. Yeah. Editing audio and video is probably way more
intensive.
Yeah, I've got to focus. It's a little more precise. Yeah. Well, software is very precise, but again, it's just a matter of
it's just, you've got that down.
Yeah, there's a lot of muscle memory versus video and audio production where I'm really getting in there and getting surgical.
When you're also trying to tell a story, like if you've got an hour-long podcast, to jump in and edit a little bit, leave and come back to it, you've kind of lost the flow and the feel, the texture of the story.
No doubt about it. Yeah. Whereas software is a little more feature driven, at least the work that I do. And so as long as I can, finish the feature, smaller chunks, then I'm usually pretty good. But you're right. Yeah, you have to reset your brain when you get back into the podcast and make sure that you kind of remember contextually what you've already edited, and then know where you're going. But I love it. I've been podcasting for 15 years.
Yeah, way before it was the mainstream thing it is now.
Yeah, it was challenging back in those days. Yeah. My first podcast came out in March of 2010, and my first episode was published in March of 2010. And I had a show called Around the Wood Stove, for 4 years. I did 140 episodes.
140
140
episodes.
episodes, yeah. And it was a NPR style arts and culture interview show. It's the best way I could describe it. So, it was fascinating. I was running a house concert series at the time, so producing these concerts, and I was getting touring artists to come to my house. I've been a musician my whole life and a producer of music, so I've been recording music for decades, and had moved here. I spent about 6 years in Nashville, Tennessee. Learned a ton of stuff down there, and just did as much as I could. Was always playing in 2 or 3 bands, and recorded in as many studios as I could, convince the doorman to let me in, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so when I moved to Lancaster, I had some home studios and was producing concerts and just part of the music scene. And I had a friend who was into podcasts. We were pretty early adopters. It was because I had a tech job out of Philadelphia, and I would drive from here to, my Long Island was my furthest client to the east, and Lancaster was my furthest client to the west. So I would go a really big circle.
Yeah.
And I had an iPod, like click wheel, old school, no Wi-Fi. You'd plug it in and press sync, and it would sync your podcasts onto your iPod.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember when podcasts came out as an option to listen to.
Yeah, then I would go in the car, plug it in. I bought a 2010 Scion XB.
Right.
And it had a USB port, so I could plug my iPod into my car and listen to podcasts. And I would listen to them when I would drive about 15, 20 hours a week. So I had a good friend who had a podcast, and he liked my house concert series, and he said, why don't you do a podcast? And I thought, well, what the heck am I going to do with a podcast? Yeah. He said, well, you have these bands coming through town. Mm-hmm. You have a recording studio in your basement. Just put up a couple of mics and record them and publish it. So I did. So I recorded it. Some were local bands, some were bands who traveled. And that quickly grew to, I'm going to just focus on the arts. Because Lancaster was really in a nice renaissance at that time, 2010, 2011. So I shifted the show from music-centric to all arts, performing arts primarily. And, would interview all different kinds of folks in the area. I still have an archive. It's not published through the regular platforms, but I have an archive of it on the internet. And I interviewed. I always said it was artists who are performing in, like if you're from Lancaster and you've moved elsewhere, you could be on the show. Or if you were performing in Lancaster, you could be on the show. If you were from somewhere else and performing in Lancaster, you could be on the show. But I wouldn't just interview like someone from, say, Asheville, North Carolina, just because I liked them.
There's some connection to this.
They either had to be coming through town and performing at one of our local venues, or they had to live here, or they had to be from here and have moved. Now, like there was a guy, I can't remember his name, but he was a Hollywood actor, and he was from here, small time, at least then. I have to look him up, see if he's famous now. I don't know. Yeah. But he was a young guy who had gone out to Los Angeles and was trying to break into movies. And he had some bit roles and some small parts and stuff. And he came back for the holidays, and somehow I met him. Yeah. So I had him on the show, and he was telling me all these crazy stories about,
a world of Hollywood.
Yeah, like just trying to break it. But he grew up here. He went to high school here. So it was that sort of thing. And I did that for a long time, and then shifted to business-related podcasts for some companies that I owned in the teens, and then. Since then I've been doing various entertainment type podcasts, and my latest venture is So Good Lancaster. Yep. Mm-hmm. Started that last October. We're on a little bit of a hiatus right now, but we'll be back in 26. I did 15 episodes. Nice. Yeah, and those are topic-driven podcasts about things happening in the area. Yeah, but just trying to have a lot of fun with it and focus on the good. Yeah. So one of our shows was about donuts in Lancaster.
I can connect with that. Like the different donut shops that are around.
Yeah, I had W on, and I had Achenbach's. So it's Lancaster County.
Achenbach's is special.
Yeah. So I wanted an old one.
Yeah, and a new one.
And a new one, brand new. And kind of, the whole idea is you take a topic and then you try to find different perspectives to look at that topic. Like, for example, one of our latest episodes is about video games. Okay. And so I had Chris from Decades with their Barcade. Yeah. And then Zach from Just Press Play, which of course a store where you can purchase video games amongst other collectibles. Yep. So those two guys came together, and it turned out that they had always been looking for opportunities to collaborate.
Cool.
And so we just talked about the idea of playing video games here. Yeah, really, really, really fun.
What do you listen to podcast wise? Like if you're driving today?
Yeah, it's funny you ask that because when I did have a commute, I would listen to I had my favorite shows, but I live a mile from my office, and I'm working on client podcasts so much that I'm editing those shows, and that's what I end up listening to. I don't really have the time
to go out and
that headspace to just sort of listen to entertainment podcasts or podcasts that sort of not anymore. And I kind of lament that. I that was one thing I enjoyed about driving was I had that time to just sort of sit and focus and listen to shows. But I'm always listening to our shows. I'm listening to shows I'm editing and doing a playback.
Yeah.
So if I'm going on a walk or I'm working out, a lot of times I'm listening to the show we're working on.
Two birds, one stone.
Yeah. But there's I'll find some room in my life before too long. I do listen to the Benchmark podcast.
Oh, nice.
Appreciate that.
It's on the list.
What do you think allows some people to do extremely long form, multi-hour videos, and other podcasters, like an hour is plenty? I've just wondered that. Some people get away with like 3. You click let me listen to this up. It's like 3 hours. But they can do it. And other people are like,
personally, there's never been a show that I've heard that is more than an hour that I've ever been able to engage with. I think that it's hard for me to engage that long.
I agree.
And it's mostly because I'm a doer by nature. So, I talked about my day. I'm ping-ponging around so much that usually it takes me 3 or 4 sessions to get through a 60-minute podcast.
Yeah.
Because there are a few YouTube shows that I do pay attention to. Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins started a podcast recently where he interviews. It's called The Magnificent Others. And it's actually interesting because it's pop culture icons. So he has access to these people.
Yeah.
Sure.
Not necessarily musicians. It's not. He's not interviewing himself or his peers. He's interviewing people who were stars when I was a kid. He's interviewing legends in music and entertainment and that sort of thing. And so I've engaged with that one, and they're usually about 40 minutes. And there's a guy out in the Midwest who talks about he's Gen X, and he talks about old music that I grew up on, and I'll listen to that. But if I see a video of his drop that's 15 minutes, I'll engage.
Yep, right away.
If it's more than 30, I hesitate because I don't know that I'm going to finish it, and it might take me. You know what I mean?
Well, you're speaking to the quintessential doer here. Like if 1.5 speed or 2.0 speed didn't exist, I don't think Will Kiefer would get through much of anything.
I had to stop listening to things at warp speed. This is a warning for all of you. If you
Does it mess with you?
No, I'm not kidding you. It makes me, maybe this doesn't happen, to talk faster.
Oh, you get used to the
Because
cadence.
I'm listening to it all the time, and then I start to talk faster. I give presentations faster. I have donor conversations faster because my brain is going at that. I had to stop. I'm a 1.0 or 1.1. I'm a 1.0 or 1.1.
You just need a little nudge.
Yeah, it happened. Someone gave me feedback. They're like, "You gotta slow down, dude."
That's funny.
I
I never thought of it, but it makes sense because you learn from your environment.
If you do it enough.
Yeah.
So we walk our dog a lot. So I can do at least an hour a day. A 30-minute walk in the morning before I leave for work and a 30-minute walk at night with the dog. So I got an hour of listening time.
Got it.
So you program that in,
Yeah.
it sticks up there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Now, there are some health podcasts. I know that the Huberman Lab, for example, Andrew Huberman, those are 3-hour shows. And, I've seen folks really deep dive into those. I've listened to a couple of those episodes. If it's a topic that you really, really are interested in, maybe if you struggle with something and he's talking about it, or you're just really interested in, say, sugar or alcohol was a really interesting show that he did because it's all science.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is the reality. I don't work for
Yep.
a brewery. This is the reality of what alcohol does to the body. So some of those I've engaged with, but not on a regular basis. Do I engage with really long form podcasts?
Yeah, I think for me, what makes a difference is if there's an expert on, which is what you're describing. It's hard to get everything that if it's a true expert, they've spent their life probably researching this topic that they're talking about. You can't get through that in 1 hour. And I would listen to an expert. I do listen to an expert on any given topic for that amount of time.
To that point, for me, if it's over like 45 minutes or an hour, maybe an hour and a half, I'm just going to get the audiobook.
Well, that's
Like if it's a topic that I want to learn about, I'm going to go get a book about it as opposed to listening to your 2-hour podcast. Even though 2 to 3 hours can be a pretty comprehensive deep
Absolutely.
dive, it's still not a 23-hour audiobook, you know?
Yeah. I agree 100%. Like, I think that an audiobook, I mean, when you break it down, you know, a podcast is sort of like an essay versus a book, an audiobook. So it's really interesting.
How do you coach somebody who's, you know, going on? You're helping these people with their entire media presence, but specifically with podcasts. How do you tell somebody like, you know, we need to bring it together? You're going, or do you just let them go, and then edit?
It's a mix. When I work with somebody, we don't take on a ton of clients. We might have 2 or 3 going at a time. And podcasting is let me just myth bust here for a second.
Yeah.
The idea that podcasting is easy is a complete myth. Like it is hard work. And the way I always break it down, especially for folks who are a little older, and remember when media was limited to television, radio, and movies, right?
That would be me.
Right. You know, there was a time where that's what it was, right? Like you weren't watching any kind of independently produced thing. It was either you were tuning into to terrestrial radio on over the air, cable TV, or you'd go to the movies and watch a film. The analogy that I always use is a podcast is a radio program, right? It's what it is, an audio-only podcast. If you're doing a video podcast, the podcast used to only be audio when it started, right? That was the idea. But now we use that term interchangeably for any show, episodic show that is published over the internet.
Yep.
So that's an evolution of that term. A video podcast is a television program.
Yeah.
I mean, you're producing television right now. And when we were younger and that was all that media was, there were teams of people working on those shows.
Made it happen.
And so this idea that just because I can afford a microphone and then I can afford a television studio might have a camera that's $10,000 and they might have 4 of those in a television studio. And so you couldn't just buy one for your house. Now we have cameras that are super high quality that you can afford to build a studio in your house. It doesn't mean that it's any easier to produce that show. And so there's this myth out there that because somebody becomes famous on YouTube or TikTok, that it must be easy because you see that one person sitting there, and what you see is the good take.
Yeah,
right.
The best one,
the good version, right? The edited version that is produced. But what people don't realize is how much work goes into actually getting to that point where it seems easy. And so when I take on clients, a lot of times the podcasts aren't necessarily long term. So you might have a client who comes in and I coach this. Are you sure you want to do 24 to 50 episodes a year? All right. Do you have enough things to talk about for your purpose?
Yeah.
Because the mission of a podcast is really important to determine out of the gate. A lot of podcasts we work on are marketing. So it'd be sort of like a blog, but in audio. So I want to set myself up as an expert. Maybe I'm an accountant and I want to explain my expertise in accounting so that I can attract customers. Yeah. That's a marketing podcast. Well, you might not need 50 episodes a year to do that. So sometimes we just encourage people to think about a season, maybe do 10 episodes, take a break, do 10 more episodes, that sort of thing, right? So it doesn't become too overwhelming because it's very hard to explain that until you're in it, how much effort goes into the preparation, goes into the execution, and then goes into the post-production and the editing. But when I start working with a client then one-on-one, if they hadn't done anything like that before, interviews and that sort of thing, we'll do a couple of episodes that are zeros that aren't intended to be published. start with that, and then after 2 or 3 episodes, then I can start providing feedback. And it's usually pretty simple stuff, and it's usually stuff that a client will pick up on by themselves. I'm saying these things over and over again. Everybody has their quirky little
their isms.
I used to say sorta. I used to say sorta all the time. I hope I don't do that as much. I cut out my sortas when you edit this. You know what I mean? Like I would say, is that sorta? Everything would be like sorta.
I've caught that.
Yeah, and I would say it when I'm interviewing people and asking questions. Everything was sorta or kinda. It's like, well, no, it's ask a direct question. So I had to do that myself. But so I'll find those little quirks with the folks I'm working with, and just say, listen for that, and see if you can kind of dial that back. Yeah, and I can edit some of that stuff out, but not all of it.
Yeah, it really, really distracts if someone is adding those filler words in.
Totally. Yeah.
And the problem is most people don't know they're doing it. But I mean, I've heard podcasts where I can't stop hearing it. Like I'm only hearing that. I'm only hearing the thing that the person, the the like, the whatever, the sorta.
And there's a balance, right? So you don't want to cut all of that out. It has to be natural. But you need to find that space where it makes sense. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's interesting because media over the years and kids, just mind blown how what it must be like for the kids who say come to Benchmark. Yeah. And experiencing this gym culture and this community that you guys have built, and then have an opportunity to sit down and work on this media. Yeah. It's mind blowing. Because, again, kind of the old man, talking about the old days, to walk into a TV studio was like the biggest deal in the world. Yeah. You know what I mean? I went to school for communications, for mass comm and television, radio, or especially for me. And it was like to go to a college that actually had a television studio where we could wheel cameras around and do multiple cameras shows. It was just unbelievable. It was
so cool. It's
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you felt really
get to do it right here.
Yeah, you felt really fortunate to be able to do it. So that's why I got into podcasting so soon, so early.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
I'm interested. This is totally shifting gears, but I'm really interested for So Good Media as you've built that up over when was your start date for that? I mean,
we came out of the pandemic. Well, we started to work for clients around 2021.
Okay.
During the pandemic, we were producing stuff ourselves, and we offered a lot of support to our membership at TCF to say, hey, I know you guys have to learn how to live stream, and you have to learn how to do all this stuff. All of a sudden, we had some equipment, and we had some of our members donate some equipment, and we just sort of built a little studio and said, if anybody needs help, just let us know. And we would get together and teach them how to do stuff and let them use the equipment.
Yeah.
And from that immediately came, well, could I just hire you?
Yeah.
And
no,
so
we used the precursor of that for some of the first cohorts of students that we worked with. We sat down and interviewed them at TCF.
In our very first little podcast room. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like the seed. That was in 2019. That was the seed. And then when the pandemic hit and we shut down, we reopened, it was like we immediately moved into a big room and said, we're really going to need these services.
So then over the, let's just say, past 5 years, what's been the biggest either bottleneck or like inflection point that you've had to work through as you've kind of grown that side of
the media production?
Yes.
Capacity. I mean, I don't know if there was a particular point, but once we established ourselves as a for-hire podcast company, all of a sudden, it doesn't take long, right? You get 2 or 3 shows, and I talked about how complicated and how much work it is that goes into one of these shows.
Right.
And at first you think, well, is anyone actually going to pay for this service, to do this, knowing what we know? And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you will find, you will find people. Yeah. You hang a shingle out there and you provide a quality product or service, and you will slowly, sometimes quickly, get clients. And we had to ramp up our gear pretty quickly. I don't know, maybe 3 years ago we landed a few pretty big projects, And all of a sudden it was like,
This is a real thing.
it's just, we better figure this out. And it was fun. I mean, I love those kinds of challenges. So we bought a new fleet of cameras. We bought a new set of microphones, and so we upgraded some of our gear. Kind of did an investment into the company, and then started utilizing that equipment. And next thing you know, you sort of next level. So that was, I would say that would be the moment where it was like there was a before and an after, as far as an inflection point. You know, it was like, yeah, we've got some pretty decent stuff, and we're just sort of playing around, and we're doing our own stuff, and maybe we have 1 or 2 paid customers who do a little bit, and then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, you know, and then you're producing at a higher. We traveled. We went over to New Jersey and recorded 3 days with a big nonprofit over there, and that was really interesting. You know, taking a mobile studio and having to deal with the environment. You know, it's one thing to be in your controlled studio. It's another thing to be in the conference room of a building, and you're like, I didn't realize how loud that elevator was. Down the hall. Yep. You start hearing the ding, ding. You know, just like,
for us, it's the kids.
Yeah.
The kids here all the time. Whatever, they don't care at all that we're recording. They're playing their music.
Absolutely.
At max.
Yeah. I think a couple early episodes, I like had a couple faces pop into the door over there because like the door was in the shot.
It's normal.
Absolutely.
It was actually Will, but
that's usual. I like to see what's going on.
Yeah, so it's been a really interesting journey, watching Benchmark grow, kind of thinking about the old days where Benchmark's hanging around at the candy factory, we're kind of getting to know each other, all the way up to you guys having your own podcast studio and producing the show. It's been really, really fascinating to watch. Really,
and you helping us build systems that now let us report on all the good stuff we do.
Yeah,
it's been a cool connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for us? Let's critique this space here and what we've done so far.
I absolutely love it. I was down here the other day working on some software and saw kind of it'd been a little while since I've been here and saw the space, how you'd upgraded it. And no, I think it's fantastic. You can't see it on the camera, but there's a great lantern light right up here.
Yep.
It was a great addition. Yep. Nice even light and, you know,
soundproofing.
Yeah, just toning the room down. It's great. I mean, I think you guys are doing a great job, and I enjoy watching the show. You know, I enjoy the topics. I enjoy what you're talking about, the exploration. You know, I'm a Lancaster guy. Like, not from here. 26 years. Kids were born and raised here, so, you know, it's sort of an adopted hometown. But I love Lancaster, and I love supporting local everything. And, you know, I really appreciate organizations like yours that are what make Lancaster a great place to be, you know, a great place to live, a great place to raise families. I mean, the work you guys do, it helps the community in ways that you can't quantify. I know you have to.
Yeah,
you got to run a report. You got to run a report. And you got to try to put it on a pie chart and a line chart and all these things, but you can't. Right? Those seeds get planted, and the positive impact that you're making right at that moment could come to fruition 5 years from now, 2 days from now, 10 years from now, in ways that you can't even imagine. And so, you know, I just think that Lancaster is rich with that type of that idea, and with organizations like Benchmark that do that. And it's one of the reasons that I just absolutely love living here.
Yeah, this community takes care of its own.
Absolutely.
Even if I'm like you, I'm transplant from outside, but you can become a part of this community.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out, Jason. Really appreciate your time. Thank you on another level. Thank you so much for everything you do for the community.
Sure.
Through like personally and then all your professional work. Thank you for all the effort you've put into Benchmark. We wouldn't be here today if it weren't for your assistance and your expertise. Anything else?
And continued support.
Yeah. Happy to do it.
And friends like you who are still cheering us on.
Absolutely. And, you know, you folks don't know it, but we have these conversations a lot. The microphones just usually aren't on.
Yes.
So we like to hang out and chat about cool stuff.
We're grateful. Yeah. Go to TCF. Go down to the Candy Factory. Meet Jason, meet Ann, meet the other teams, and meet the other people who are there who are co-working. You owe it to yourself to explore what's out there. If you're like me, you don't you think you know what it looks like, but you don't really know.
Not to experience it, really.
You need to go and experience it. Just like you need to come and experience benchmarking, you need to go to the Candy Factory.
Absolutely. Our door's open.